Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is my good friend Bart Brands. Bart is a precious metals specialist at Gold Republic and a certified security intelligence professional. Welcome back to Wall Street Silver, sir.
Ivan, thank you very much, and Happy New Year, man. It's on my side now it's the 3rd of January, but it's still the 2nd of January where you are.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to
Thank you.
everyone watching at Wall Street Silver. I wanted to get you on to talk about all the, exciting stuff that's happening in the precious metals market, where we're going for 2025 as the new year. Where do you see us going for gold and silver in 2025?
Well, Ivan, I'm based in Europe, right? So I look at the things a little bit differently. And one of the things I do is I look at pricing of gold and silver in different currencies. So where you use dollars per troy ounce, I like to measure gold and silver in euros per kilogram. And what we saw today, or I would have to say yesterday, was just a spectacular first weekday or market opening day of precious metals because the price of silver rose more than 3%. The price of gold also rose more than 3%, almost hitting a new all-time high when measured in euros per kilogram.
Right.
And if I take a look at what happens in dollars per troy ounce, of course, it was a lot less spectacular. But I want to preface that because it tells us something about how different currencies compete against each other and what's happening in currencies, the world of currencies. And you can really see how the dollar is getting a lot stronger against the euro. And I think that has something, it might have something to do with the upcoming inauguration of the new president, President Donald Trump. And so, yeah, that is just fascinating to see how the administration switch. Of course, there are some fundamentals that also play a part in this analysis, but
Absolutely.
how a switch of administration can strengthen a currency or weaken another currency. And of course, this all has to do with possible trade wars against Europe and the markets really seeing and saying who is going to be the winner if a trade war kicks off.
Who would be the winner in a trade war, let's say between US and Europe? Would
Well,
it be US?
it will definitely be the United States because the dollar is the world's reserve currency. Everybody wants dollars. Everybody needs dollars. And if you look at the euro versus the dollar right now, then you see the euro weakening. And what I find fascinating is if you look at the euro now and you look at gold and silver, then you can see that they are on a tear. Gold almost hitting a new all-time high when measured in euros. We are just a couple $100 off, so that's less than 1% off of the
Wow.
all-time high that we just hit, well, maybe a month and a half ago.
Right.
And silver is really performing really well as well. And measured, if we measure gold and silver, the gains of gold and silver in dollars, then we know that gold gained 26% in 2024, which is just
Wow.
amazing. And silver gained 21%, a little bit more than 21% in 1 year, which is, of course, just crazy. But
Yeah, it is
it's
crazy.
yeah, and what I always say, it's not the metals that are acting crazy. It is the world around the metals that is acting crazy, and that reflects into the price of precious metals. So, I try to if I have to take my fundamental analysis and project it onto 2025, I see nothing changing since 2024. Of course, there's going to be another administration, but fundamentally, there are too many problems that are too severe to have a real impact on what precious metals are indicating to us. And precious metals are indicating that the world is changing rapidly. And of course, you have that problem in Canada. We see the same problem in Europe. We see the
Right.
same problem in the United States. inflation, cost of living, housing crisis. In the United States, of course, now a big problem is the car loan crisis and repo crisis. So I think I think it's going to be a fascinating, but also very quite scary year for anybody who hasn't prepared by investing in precious metals.
And of course, people talk about, the US dollar being stronger and stronger because of the election and Trump being put into presidency. But I guess it all could come crashing down with just a simple bank run or bank collapses or just some, leaks in the market. And then you're going to see the US dollar go lower. And then, gold and silver will even go higher and higher. So, what scenario do you see playing out in 2025 where the US dollar does go down?
Well, I see the US dollar going down in regards to precious metals. And that's because I think that we can't rule out quantitative easing in 2025 because
Absolutely.
you know that Trump wants lower rates. But we see the problem of, for example, like I said, the car loan crisis, repossessions of automobiles is hitting record highs. You have record unsold new vehicles, and so what I see coming is a bailout of the car manufacturers in the United States.
Really?
So and yeah, and a bailout is quantitative easing because they would have to print that money to give it to the car companies if they don't want those car companies to go under. So I think a bailout of a couple car manufacturers in the United States is a very high probability, and that is in effect is quantitative easing, which always 100% of the time creates more inflation.
And devalues the
And
dollar more.
and it devalues the dollar, not specifically maybe against the euro or other currencies because they're in a bad shape as well,
Right.
but most definitely, and when we measure the value of a dollar in gold or silver. So yeah, I think this is going to be just as the past 4 or 5 years have been. By the way, the past 4 or 5 years have been really interesting when it comes to precious metals, both measured in dollars and in euros. And I think we are nowhere near the end of this situation where people are frantically, but also very deliberately and maybe even forced to diversify into precious metals to protect purchasing power and protect their wealth and just protecting their way of living. So it's not even gaining a lot of purchasing power. It's just protecting what you have and hoping that you don't go down with the ship.
Because at what point, Bart, does, all the people in the tech stocks and in the stock market look at their investments, look at their money and say, and yeah, at what point do they look at it and say, you know what, we need to actually hold some purchasing power or get some investments into gold? What would that do to the precious metal market when you see a flood of people moving out of the tech sector and the stocks into precious metals? What would that do to the market?
Well, it highly likely it would make sure or it would raise the price of precious metals. Well, of
Right.
course, the number one market cap commodity is gold, with I think a market cap of about $17 trillion.
Right.
Still, if you measure how much wealth is in gold, if you look at all stocks, all bonds, then it's a very low percentage.
Hello, my fellow silver and gold stacker. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the channel. Subscribe, please like the video, and also hit the notification bell. Keep stacking.
So if a larger percentage of wealth would flow into gold and silver, then of course those the prices of gold and silver would go through the roof. But having said that, I think there is a very distinct difference between the financial markets and the real economy.
Why?
And I think there is going to be a day of reckoning where those two will have to meet up, and a somewhere in the middle there'll be a new equilibrium. because, well, the real economy, of course, you have millions and tens of millions of people in the United States. And in Europe, it's the same, who can barely afford to live and who have real problems paying off their mortgage, paying off their car loan, even buying groceries on credit cards.
Right.
So
That's
if you
crazy.
have that problem, but you look at these super high value stocks, then you have to question yourself: is this value? Is a PE ratio of 100? Is that sustainable? No, of course it's not. So if those ratios are unsustainable, you have real problems in the economy. Then financial markets will have to correct downward, or the real economy is going to correct upward, of course. And that the way that could happen is through quantitative easing.
Yeah. And I also heard, Bart, Russia is selling their, natural gas and all of their natural resources like oil, crude oil to India. India will repackage it, sell it off to the US, and then US will sell it to Europe. How does that affect inflationary pressures in Europe when Russia's just selling it to someone, India is selling it to US, and then US is selling it back to Europe?
Well, yeah, this hits home because the Netherlands has the largest gas reserves, natural gas reserves in the whole Northern European continent.
Oh,
So,
geez.
so yeah, it's really that hits home because we decided we have to close off the natural gas pipelines.
Right.
So there's no more natural gas coming from our own country, and of course we could have almost free natural gas if we would have the common sense to use it. So yeah, well, what happens is it becomes a lot more expensive. So there is real inflation in natural gas and energy as a whole. So yeah, I think we are shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes to fossil fuels, or fossil fuels. Like I always call them traditional fuels,
Right.
because yeah, because I think it's just what we've used. I think it's sustainable. I think it's cheap, and I think it's reliable. So yeah, what's happening when it comes to the transfer of gas to other countries, rerouting them and making them a lot more expensive. That's just policymakers going crazy.
Right. Like that will not that that looks you look at people in Europe and you look at people across the world and you even look at central banks. Like central banks, they said in 2025 are on a all new like they're looking at a new buying spree of gold, of purchasing gold at all new record pace for 2025. So do central banks see the issues and the instability in the world, and are they betting on protecting their assets and their portfolio as well by, getting into even more gold because they see all the crisis and the crises happening around the world? What do you think with the central banks?
Well, you know what I always say, and I said it a couple times in your show as well, is don't watch or don't listen to what central bankers are saying. Just watch what they're doing.
Right.
And if you see central bankers purchasing gold in record amounts, then it might be wise to follow their example and purchase some precious metals for yourself as well. And of course, you can buy gold. I'm a big fan of gold. I love gold.
Us too.
Um, but don't forget silver, because
Right.
silver, especially if you look at the historic value, if you look at where it's valued at right now, I think it's around $29 for 1 troy ounce of silver. It was 50. It was 50 in 2011. So we are still so is silver is still so cheap then that I think, if it really if what we see coming starts to happen, I think that silver could be a very big surprise. But also, don't forget about gold, because and
Right.
keep in mind that if you buy silver, that it is the more speculative asset, because you can if you if you overload on silver, you can really hurt yourself. And with gold, it's much more stable. So maybe if you're a new investor, buy lots more gold and silver. Try out a little bit of silver maybe, and if it feels good for you, maybe a little bit more, and maybe a lot more. But don't forget about silver if you're investing into precious metals.
Absolutely. Now, Bart, before you go, I really want people to connect with you. I'm going to put your links in the description below, but where could people connect with you on social media?
Well, I do have my own Twitter. I have Instagram. Of course, people can watch our Gold Republic YouTube account. We have a Gold Republic Global YouTube account now as well with English spoken content. And yeah, Twitter and Instagram, we're on. We're even on TikTok, so
Oh, nice.
we're everywhere. So if people just Google Gold Republic or they Google my name, then they will find my Instagram and my Twitter. So
Well, Bart, it's such
connect with
a
me there.
absolutely, Bart, it's such a huge pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver. I'm going to put the links in the description below. Everyone watching, thank you so much. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. And Bart, again, it's such a huge pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver.
Thank you, Ivan. See you soon.
Talk to you soon.